Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
Howdy, everybody. We are back once again with Anime Odyssey, where we're going to discuss, anime, because anime is awesome. Anime is awesome. It is fantastic storytelling, fantastic characters, beautiful to look at, great music most of the time. And frankly, it's pure escapism. Pure escapism. We need that these days.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I am joined by the panel, Dermy Wormy, who is 86 trash. How you doing, Dermy?
I'm doing pretty well, all things considered. YouTube's a weird game, but
yes,
I gotta watch 86 again, and I completely didn't realize that watching it a second time gives you a different emotional impact.
When you don't know what's coming.
When you know what's coming and you see how people interact.
I said that wrong, but yeah. So again, we're doing 86, but before we get to that, Anime Man 73, how you doing today?
Hi there. How you doing? It's good to see you all. And also, big greetings and salutations to Aragmar Vermilion, a friend of mine and mentor from Minds.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, and since they're held to the chat, Aragmar Vermilion, hello to you. Kuroburu no Majo Aki, hello to you. Hella Goddess Legionist, one of my mods, one of my regulars here to keep the peace. And anybody else is hanging out and watching, Carl Carlson, hello to you. And Jaden Hamilton, I see you there, young man. How you doing? And if you're watching and not chatting, that is perfectly fine. We're happy to have you here on this evening. And if you're watching the replay, we hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Well, as has always been alluded to, obviously we are here to talk 86 or the 86, however you want to say it. That was one of the weird things when this show came out. It was hard to understand the title because it was being presented in 2, maybe 3 different ways. So when searching for it, had a little bit of a problem. At least I did initially. But we're covering a fairly recent show. This was Dermy's choice this month. Mm-hmm. I gave him the tag of Mecha, and he came back with this, a fairly recent anime. When exactly was this?
I got it right 2021, here. I think.
Yeah, last year, 2021, yeah. And it just ended season 2, part 2, about 3-4 months ago in March. So yeah, this is recent. Our first time doing something relatively recent. We've been doing a bunch of old school stuff more often than not, but we're cranking things up now that we have a third person. And next month we can officially say it again. I've said it in a couple of the streams, but we haven't said it here. Next month, the NYC Geek Jose will be joining us full time as our 4th panel member. And we look forward to having him here after an outstanding discussion about One Piece with him a couple weeks ago. I realized, okay, he automatically passed the test and I wasn't even distributing it. So I asked him to come and he has agreed to join us. And we look forward to having Jose here next month for what will be my choice. When the show's over, Dermy will give me my tag and I will choose what we will watch by the end of next week. And we'll let everybody know where we're going to be going forward. Anyway, 86. It's Dermy's choice. Dermy, why did you choose this? And then start us off by telling us about this anime.
So I chose this anime. Sorry, allergies are acting up.
I'm hearing about it from my mom all the time. She's got horrible allergies. And I'm clean as a whistle.
I wish I was you. Anyways, I chose 86 because I think this is a good glimpse of the style of anime I really like, which is a more serious, more gritty anime that deals with intense and sometimes very complex and nuanced themes. Mm-hmm. The idea of war and what are you going to do within war. And also it does something that the West has been trying to do for the past, I don't know how many years, but does it very successfully in displaying a kind of interesting format of a racism style situation.
It's unexpected. And
yeah,
it's racism without skin color.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it well. And even though the guys who are obviously the racist side, you kind of see where they come from.
But you still hate them because they're assholes.
You can still hate them. They're awful people.
The Magnolian purebloods are assholes.
Not all of them. That was the best part about this.
Lena has waifu candidacy. She has waifu candidacy.
She is waifu. Anyways, especially with that uniform. Anyways, but what I also loved is it also shows like, hey, there are good Legion members and there are very obvious bad Legion members, but also they have this whole moment where you hear, even on the 86 side, the people that are being subjugated, there's not good people over there either. You don't see it, but you hear it. So, and you see some of the ramifications on some of the characters. And I find this show to be just great.
You see, Kerber, that's why I always give anime at least the 4-episode test. I give it 4 episodes because sometimes the first 2 episodes maybe laying a groundwork, and then bam, suddenly the end of a second episode, something might happen that'll pull you forward, and you can really get into it. So I go by the rule: 4 episodes, sometimes 6, because 6 is usually a complete arc in a season. But generally, if I'm not in by the 4th episode, I'm out. Sometimes, very rarely, by 2 episodes, I know I'm out, but I'll know by the 4th episode whether I'm out. So that's why I gave this one 2. By the 4th one, I was in. Like you, I was not initially in it the first episode because of the dark, gritty nature, which is not something I generally click with. But like Jeremy said, though, the show has a lot of stuff going for it. The animation style, this is kind of the animation style I love. I like the graceful artwork. I like the caricature artwork. It takes great pains to show the beauty in all the characters and their features, and I love that. The color schemes are great, and once you get into it, there's a lot of really good characters in this. Once you cut through those who are going to die.
I think by episode 3 is when I got hooked, because that's when the initial like everything kind of starts flowing.
You realize the shit hits the fan. You realize by then suddenly what you're getting, because episode 3 is when the death really picks up.
Like that first initial death. Because
you-
they show a death in episode 1, but you don't feel it.
Mhm.
But that just
doesn't matter yet because you don't know the stakes yet.
Yeah. And then you get that first one and you're like, this hurts. And watching it a second time hurts even more.
Yeah, we'll start in a second. So, Anime Man, I had already seen this. I watched it when it premiered, so I knew what I was getting into when going back into this. How did you feel getting into this show? How do you feel about it so far?
Okay, first of all, we can all agree that the Albas, well, you can understand where they're coming from. Their racism, it sucks. It really, really sucks. I appreciate the fact that they put a lot of nuance into this, saying that not all the Albas are bad guys and not all the 86 are good guys. I can appreciate subtlety and nuance like that. It really just adds something. The main character, Lena, I think it was?
Well, co-main character, Lena. I mean, Shin and Lena are our leads. They're our leads.
Yeah, she's definitely a good-looking lady. And I can say the ramifications throughout the series, they just make you go, dang. And generally speaking, I can say the Republic of Magnolia really needs to get its act together.
Yeah, we're stopped. Yeah, remember, guys, we're talking. Yeah, we see.
Part 1.
Yeah, Jeremy and I have seen the whole way through. We've seen it the whole way through, basically. Season 1. You haven't because we only assigned you part 1. So we're gonna be very careful not to spoil things for you.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, so we'll couch our words very carefully, which is sometimes hard.
Is definitely watch part 2.
Yeah,
definitely.
Go have fun.
I look forward to it.
I know that your requirement is dub. It's been fully dubbed, so you shouldn't have a problem watching part 2. The dub is out there. It's completely done.
It has a great payoff, though.
Yeah. Oh, again. All right. Well, let's get into it then. So, what's going on in this story, Jeremy?
So, the basic premise of the story is this is a world, and I can never remember all the names of the people for some reason.
Let's see.
But
you mean the countries?
Yeah, because they're unique names.
Yeah, we got the first part 1 takes place in the Republic of San Magnolia, and then it's at war with the Empire of Giad, which has basically been overrun by taken over by AIs. What we think are AIs. Yeah.
Essentially, the idea is you're in the middle of a massive war. The Empire of Gion has unleashed this army of AI robots onto the world that have completely kind of decimated several countries and
their own country first. The AIs
their own country first.
Their own empire first.
Wiped it out.
Yeah.
And from there, the whole idea is that Republic of San Magnolia is just trying to basically do a war of attrition from where they are at this when you first get introduced, because you're told that they're only going to last another 2 years because of
the AI. The AI batteries. There's this shutoff date, so they're completely comfortable with their choice of strategy, which is
they are sending in, by their standards, their own autonomous fighting robots that have absolutely nobody inside. No human is inside. Granted, though, what are inside are the 86, which in Sog Magnolia, unless you are a pure blood, which is white hair, I think it was red. They didn't have red eyes. I can't.
No, I think it's. Let me see. I got a good picture of Lena here. Hang on.
Obviously.
Purplish blue eyes.
Yeah, purplish blue eyes. And unless you're a pure blood, you are not human. You are the 86.
You're
86 trash.
Which basically you come in all hair colors and all this. But as we said, the thing is, they're all white. They're all white.
Or Japanese of some sort. Like
anime, everybody's white. I thought just like everybody's white.
Yeah. So, and because of this, your units that are piloted by essentially non-humans, but they are humans.
Yeah.
This does some interesting workarounds that get explored throughout part 1 with the idea that, hey, these aren't humans so we can do some fun tests on them. And from there, you're basically throwing these armies of what you do not consider humans at this army as long as you can. Oh, beautiful.
Hello.
That is Lena.
Essentially, it's the Zap Brannigan war style. Throw wave after wave of men at them until they end.
Yeah.
In other words, what some would call cannon fodder.
Yeah, that's essentially all they are.
Yeah, it's sad. So as you said, they have their own AIs, but they are telling the people that there's been no casualties in our war because they don't count the 86 as people. And they're 86 like 86 trash. They're there to die. And it's this and you when you get a good look at the Magnolian military, the elite there, they sit around drinking all the time. They sit around goofing off, except for a few like Lena who take it seriously, who have not fully bought into the idea that there's this shut-off date.
Well, she didn't know there was a shut-off. There wasn't a shut-off date initially.
Okay, well, yeah. Okay, yeah. It's fuzzy. I have season 2, part 2 more in my head than part 1 right now.
So she didn't initially know that there was. She thought there was, so she was just going along. But she viewed, unlike this is the part of it that we were talking about. Not all the Song Magnolian people, not all the Albas believe the 86 are trash, and they believe they are people. And my God, we just said her name. Lena believes that they're people, knows they're people. They're obviously people, so she treats them as people. But she is also one of the top-rated military leaders in the army. And also the youngest, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So because she has such a good score, and because she does care about these people, she gets promoted to Spearhead Squadron, which is the frontline defense of the Song Magnolia army.
The literal tip of the spear, with the promise that if they survive X amount of years,
I believe 5.
Yeah, 5. They're allowed to return to the population. They're allowed to come home from the war. But the dark secret of that is that no one ever survives because the Magnolian military hierarchy, always sends them into no-win situations. Everyone. So every 2 or 3 years, the unit is completely wiped out and a brand new spearhead is put into play.
I believe it's towards the end of their first year. Like they get put in if they've survived the 4 years.
Yeah.
You get your 1 year left.
Yeah, you're right.
And then you're wiped out.
And the problem is, though, this particular spearhead has an uncanny ability to survive a lot because of their unit commander, Shin, aka Reaper.
Undertaker.
Undertaker,
Reaper, he's all of them.
Depends on the translation you got. I was Reaper when I for the subs that I got.
For the subs, he was Reaper. For the dubs, he's Undertaker.
Yeah.
He's
so it's I prefer
badass.
Reaper. It sounds cooler. Yeah. You say Undertaker, I think of WWF. So, but Reaper. Shin is Lena is our. It's a dual protagonist. She's the one half. He's the other. All right. So tell us about Shin. What's his deal?
So Shin is a very unique individual, and I'm trying to figure out how to first approach this to then give you some of his full story, which kind of leads into the main story
part. Yeah. You have to cut it off because it's, let's just say he's your standard at first silent protagonist.
Yeah.
He's stoic silent protagonist.
And he has a unique ability that he has obtained through very sad means to hear the voices of the dead.
What does that mean?
Oh, well, that means that turns out that our little AI army isn't AI. They have discovered the ways to constantly self-multiply because they've been taking 86 heads and using their brains as essentially.
And not just 86 heads, they take everybody's heads. They took their own Imperial heads. They took
Yeah.
all survivors. That's why Shin's job, his nickname is Reaper, because every time somebody goes down, once they've survived the battle, if they're dying and unrecoverable, it's his job to put a bullet in their head so the brain becomes goo and they cannot be taken as a member of the Legion. Which and he does it with just no emotion. I mean, Anime Man, when you see his ability to do that at this point with what you've seen so far, are you able to connect with him as a character, understanding what he's going through?
Actually, yes, I can, because while he's no doubt, inside, he's absolutely torn up. Outside, he just does what needs to be done. As hard as it is, sometimes that's what you just have to do. No matter how ghoulish it may seem.
Yeah, the fascinating thing, though, is that you don't know he's torn up because he literally has locked down his emotions in order to do this, because it's a grisly thing. Not only does he kill the person, but then with his knife, he cuts off a part of their mech. It's
their sigils.
Yeah, their sigils. Yeah, their insignias. Yeah, he cuts it off and he collects them, and
he writes their name on them.
And because he's been there so long, he has a box full of these things, and he's carrying them around so they are not forgotten and not left behind. It's really sad. I mean, you haven't figured it out, guys. This is a sad, dark anime. Well,
very dark,
because it's like
it is and it isn't.
You have to get to part 2 to get to the light side of it, or the end of season 1, part 1. End of part 1, you dig into the lighter side of it, but you have to get to part 2 where you get, let's just say, life starts to take over in part 2. But in part 1, it's this: you have been basically discriminated into forced conscription. Children, these are child soldiers too.
Well, yeah, they're not forced. That's the thing.
Okay. I always see it as forced, is that they have the lack of real choice.
They have a choice, but I want to say, I have to pull up the list. I want to say it's either episode 8 or 7. You get the acknowledgement that after you find out that basically there is no escape from this reality.
Yeah,
you will die before your 5th year. You are told that you can either live your life forever as an 86, or you can die fighting for the country you still technically live in. So those are your decisions.
Yeah. See, I feel like that's no decision. That's why I say forced. It's like you're forced to live this horrific war-torn life where you're child soldiers and you have no way out but essentially death. Because
I guess you're technically right.
I call that being stuck between a rock and a hard place.
I think Anime Man's the correct one there.
Trying to get a good image of the mecha that they use in part 1. Just so you guys, because now these are weird mecha. We'll get into that in a minute.
And Jane Hamilton, to answer your question, yes, it is.
I can't get a good one.
When I first saw the mecha,
I was a little put off by them.
They were a little put off, but after you see them in action, you kind of.
Well, yeah. Well, all right. So let's see Shin in action with his mecha. I mean, that's the his. Here's this is a good one. Here's a good one. It's a model, so this is a good one, sort of. Let me see if it's big enough.
Although I think the Legion have better looking models.
Well, those are smoother. Those are smooth, nice and clean versions. But the Magnolian version is these ugly little things. I mean, these things they're weird, but you realize there's no safety mechanisms. You're bounced around in there. But Shin is the god on this battlefield because he's got basically Gundam pilot reflexes. What he's got,
yes.
He's got Gundam pilot reflexes, and he flies around because they shoot cables. There's guns. There's got blade weapon there. It's got assortment of stuff, but there's zero upkeep on these things. So they're all basically ready to fall apart against the Legion, which are nice, pristine, well-oiled AI machines. And all right, so go ahead. You were saying.
Well, I'm trying to find a good image of the Legion mechs that don't show off too much.
Yeah, you want to get it. You'd like the basically a regular drone is what you want to look for.
Yeah, and that's
drone
what
ones,
I'm trying to remember how to.
But point is this though: you got these child soldiers into this impossible situation, fighting these things right here,
and that's just their basic unit.
Yeah, and they're better armored. You can only kill them if you shoot through where the head area is. And they're basically being controlled by an overmind, or it's a theory though. Well, those in Spearhead know it because Shin knows it.
Yeah.
And you learn pretty early on that these things, the drones, are commanded by a, I guess, what was the term for it?
The Shepherd.
Shepherd, thank you, Shepherd. By a Shepherd, which is basically someone powerful enough to be pulled away from consciousness. Because, like we told you, these aren't just AIs anymore at this point. These are human beings. Their brain waves, their heads scanned and put into these metal shells where they're in constant pain, locked into their final moments of death. Because we talked about Shin's power, and his power is, like Jeremy said, he can hear them. He can hear them crying out. That's how he knows they're coming. That's happens. And if you're connecting to the special system, we haven't talked about that yet. The Magnolians have developed a special system which allows the elite, the military elite, the Alba purebloods, to stay behind and basically virtually link with their units. And it's a cybernetic virtual link which links everybody's minds and shit. And basically, is that the way it works?
I don't think it's cybernetic. I think it is.
You're right. It's not cybernetic.
Psychic. Because
right, I don't know why I said that.
Because further in, we'll get into it because it plays into Shin's story.
Yeah. So what happens is that a commander, which Lena is, she's a commander, a handler. Mm-hmm. She links psychically into them, and she hears what they're hearing, what they're saying. And at a certain point, when you hear, when she joins Spearhead as their commander, they say, "Okay, you're going to want to shut it off now." She goes, "Why?" Because you're going to hear stuff you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And that's when you hear the help, the cries, the outcries, the pleas for death from all these people who have been harvested. I think
I don't want to die.
Yeah, I don't want to die. I don't die. Harvested by the Legion and put into these drones. And all they do is, and everybody linked into the system can hear it, but Shin can always hear it. Mm-hmm. And he basically never sleeps. He gets me 1 or 2 hours a night, if even.
He's haunted.
Yeah,
these
for
things.
a lot
and
of reasons.
He's always listening for a certain
one voice. We can spoil that. We just spoil it here. It's okay. What happened is, this is the backstory. Let's go into Lena's backstory then. Why did she want to go into the military?
Lena wanted to go into the military, and this is also plays into why she views the 86 as human.
Yeah.
Her father was, I want to say he was the general at one point.
He was a command. He was high up in there.
He was high up in the military.
Yeah. And
he never agreed with turning the 86 into animals because he believed in the 5 tenets of the 5-color flag of Sog Magnolia, which I do not remember each color and each tenet, but these were the ideas they were raised on.
I know some of the tenets, the idea of brotherhood and equality.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this from what I've seen of it so far. If, as my stepfather would best put it, there's a big difference between talking the talk and walking the walk.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the other themes of the show is, are you willing to sacrifice basically your ideals to win a war?
Yeah.
And some people aren't. And that's where Lena and her father come into play. So her father wanted to take her out to the battlefield to show her the 86 and to see the front lines of the battlefield.
Stupidly.
Very stupidly. Let's just, when you first see it, it's like, oh, this is a nice idea. And then you see the ramifications and you're like, wait, this was kind of idiotic.
Takes a chopper ride into the battlefield. It's just like, what are you doing with your kid? Dude.
Yeah, bad idea.
And they get shot down.
Yes, they get shut down. Dad dies in the crash. You see one of the Legion about to decapitate a dude. And the way they do it is, remember their pincers. They lift that pincer up and they slam it down to get your head.
Yep.
Because they want a perfectly intact head. But back to what we're talking about.
Yeah. Lena's backstory.
She was about to get discovered by... No, she did get discovered by...
No, she was about to get killed.
Yeah,
but then Spearhead arrived.
Yep. Then Spearhead Squadron arrived. The leader of the current Spearhead Squadron, who cannot remember his name, but he's a dude with red hair who has the same last name as Shin.
Yeah.
Because he is Shin's older brother.
Yeah. This is like 5-6 years prior to the present day timeline, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Younger kids.
She's a little girl because she's like, how old is she? I think she's 18, 19. I mean, Shin's like 15, 16, 17, something like that.
But Shin's also currently in the military, I believe.
Yeah. Just see if it says it here. Yeah, she's 16. Yeah, Lena's 16, and that makes Shin 16 as well. Yeah, they're both 16 years old and during the present day in the show. All right, keep going.
So she's saved by Shin's older brother. And she is led on that she doesn't know who this guy is, but she's led on that he has a younger brother, same age. He wants to find him and he wants to apologize. I believe he said apologize.
I think so. It's basically he wants to reconnect because things ended badly between them.
Very badly.
Which is why Shin is so traumatized. In the first place,
Shin is traumatized, which is why Shin can hear the dead, and which is why the two most iconic looks for Shin is that he wears a scarf, and when he doesn't wear a scarf, he has a scar around his entire neck.
Yeah.
Ooh, if I might add in something, well, when you compare this little brotherly feud with the feud between Caramon and Raistlin from Dragonlance, it makes the feud between the brothers Magere look like a Saturday afternoon walk in the park.
Maybe.
I don't really say this is a feud, though, because what happened is you see both angles of what happened between his brother and him.
It was a mental breakdown is what it was.
Oof. Yeah. It was, and he was not happy after the fact. So now we're going to hop over to Shin's backstory.
Yeah. So she gets saved by Shin's older brother, and she's therefore dedicated herself to making sure the 86 survive their battles, which is why she rises in the ranks so quickly, and she has a knack for it too. She's got that keen strategic eye that can see things happening quickly and make good decisions on the battlefield. All right, now Shin's backstory.
So Shin's backstory is a little difficult because it does tie into a character that Lena's good friends with, who we didn't introduce, who's their tech person. The D tech, I can't remember what they're called. But their tech division, good friends with Lena.
You mean her friend who keeps getting
one moment.
Marriage, you mean the one getting marriage proposals?
Yes.
Yeah, I got her. Henrietta.
Henrietta von Penrose.
Yes. Yeah. So Henrietta used to grow up next door to Shin. Because Shin once lived in Sog Magnolia, was around when they began the 86 project, and was also in one of the very ritzy fancy districts, which was District 1. So one day, Shin, once the 86 project began, just had her name, we just said it.
Henrietta
von Penrose.
We're going to call her Von Penrose for right now because that's the unique part. Von Penrose, her father, who was a very pronounced scientist, took them in because he also had the idea that, hey, these are people. And he took them in, and then they started noticing a little thing that Shin's mother, brother, and him could do, which is communicate basically telepathically. The military finds out. And the military decides that they are going to weaponize this ability. They want to create tools out of this ability. So they began testing on all of them. And through this, I believe this is how Shin's mom died, or does she get shipped off to the battlefield?
I don't remember.
I don't remember fully how it all broke down, but through this also plays into the thing that I said earlier, that 86 aren't people.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, they were allowed to do human experimentation to get this project to work, and a lot of 86 kids died.
Yeah, I remember when I found out about that, I thought, oh, that is just absolutely ghoulish.
And Henrietta and her father felt the blunt of it the most, because he did actually view the 86 as people. Because of his research, kids died. He committed suicide. Henrietta still has the blame of herself because of what happened to Shin.
Talk
And she
about
blames
the
herself the whole time.
father.
It's hard because they didn't do anything wrong, but they were roped into doing something wrong, and they feel
Yeah.
bad for it.
That's why this is good, intricate storytelling. There are layers to it. These are not paper thin characters like we've been getting in all our Western entertainment lately. These are deeply thought out characters with actual stories and actual connections and layers. And one of the great things about 86 is how so many of these characters know each other, but at certain points now never see each other.
Mm-hmm. Like,
it's really cool because you have to understand, Lena put in charge of Spear Squadron. She's a voice to them, and they're a voice to her. And the spearhead, as we're going to get to know them, there are several who are only several important ones, because as we said, as of episode 3, they start to all die. Finally, they've been going a long way. They'll die, and they do a very interesting mechanic with the opening theme, where they have every time somebody dies, they appear. Do I have that right? Is it they appear? They appear in the background of the final splash on the opening theme, and eventually it's all but Shin and 4 others that have died at a spearhead, and it's heartbreaking. Now, we don't know these ones. We don't know a lot. We know some of them better as it goes on. The last few that died towards the end, before we're left with our final 5 members of that generation.
We know about
spearhead.
7.5. I say a half because one of them has talking scenes, but you don't know a lot about them.
But you get their relationships and how people are having, young teenage love, burgeoning feelings, emotions, growing into their own bodies and this kind of stuff. And then they're abruptly killed. And so you get these deep characters. And that's one of the beautiful things about anime in general. When you look at in a roughly an anime season is 12 episodes, 13 if they push it. If they start early in the season, a couple weeks ahead, they get maybe 13 if they decide to do it. So if it's a single shot season, you get 12, maybe 13 episodes. If it's a 2-part season, you'll get upwards of 24 to 25, depending how it shakes out. But in just a single season, usually maybe even 6 episodes, you get so much about characters that's what we say. If 4 to 6 episodes in, you're in, because you found connection to characters. And that's why this art form storytelling is so masterful, because they can do that. Whereas we just watched 7 weeks of the Rings of Power.
Oh, don't remind me.
And we had no connection to any of these characters. And that is 9 hours. Or if you take 10 minutes from each one, the extra 10 minutes, it's 9 hours worth. And nothing. Yet you literally, and remember, 3 episodes of anime is generally about an hour's worth of entertainment. So 6 episodes, that's 2 hours. In 2 hours, 6 episodes of a show, you are potentially, more often than not, engaged in every single main character you've been introduced to.
I'm not gonna lie. This come part 2, I was basically yellow flashing. I was basically crying.
You're crying. You're bawling your eyes out.
When I first watched it, I cried because what this show does, and this is why I say you need to get to episode 3, because that's when it finally hooks you. There's a character who you only see maybe part of in episode 1.
The girl who dies in episode 3, yeah.
Get a little bit more of her in 2. You get her in 3, and then she dies, and it's like,
because you don't really in the first couple episodes they have a couple successful battles. You're thinking, oh, it's going to be one of the before you realize what's going on. You think you're getting a show where our plucky spearhead platoon or spearhead squadron, they're gonna overcome all this stuff. They're gonna be our plucky band of heroes, and they're gonna fight through, and they're gonna get to the center of this problem and save the day. And in episode 3, after you get all this stuff with this one girl character, where she's getting a little story in there, this and that, suddenly everything goes wrong in that fight. More Legion than expected. They come out of nowhere. Lena loses control of what's going on, and Shin can't really save the day because he's at his limit. And girl gets aced, and you're just like, damn,
That's a kick to the gut.
and then it just keeps happening episode after episode until the final 2 episodes of the part 1, 10 and 11, where you're left with just 5 members out of what was 15 members of
massive.
Yeah.
But then like 10 and 11, those are some of the most wholesome episodes, I think.
Yeah, we'll get
which
into
is
that.
shocking.
Yeah, we'll get into that of how it shifts, the tonal shift, which is important with what's going on, because you understand, as we said, it's the layers. It's the ability to get you attached to these characters. You care what they think. You care that Lena is suffering, that she can't do more. You care that she's trying to get artillery support for these poor bastards. But all she keeps hearing is, no, we're not going to waste it because the war's going to be over in 2 years anyway.
And we're not going to waste it on 86 trash.
Even though the leader of that unit has said, they're not going to shut off in 2 years.
Because the higher ups don't believe him.
Yeah, they don't believe it because Shin, again, he's tuned into it, because Shin's purpose now, we learn that at some point between when Lena was rescued and Shin became part of Spearhead, his brother died on the battlefield. His brother died, and he has been listening.
But we haven't also fully finished the brother.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
So basically, through the whole technology, Von whatever, I can't remember her name.
Henrietta
Von. Hold on, I have it right here.
Penrose.
Thank you, anime man.
Here we go. Henrietta Von Penrose.
Henrietta Von Penrose. Her father is still taking care of Shin and his brother. Shin's brother, I guess, gets drafted, but also gets told that mom's dead, dad's dead. Shin's brother is reading the report, has a nervous breakdown, and strangles Shin practically to death, which causes the scar and causes his ability to hear everything.
Which is fascinating, symbolic for the fact that that's basically the exact point where all heads are cut off by Legion. It's just that symbolism that Shin carries, that he's all but dead. He's basically dead. He walks among the dead. You see his head. It's as though his head was severed and put back on. It's fascinating imagery about that. And it really speaks to his character, because he is basically a walking ghost in season 1, part 1. He's a walking ghost. He's looking to die, but he's looking to die after completing the one thing. And like we said, that's defined his brother, because he knows his brother's head was out there and that his brother is a shepherd.
His brother's head was taken, was not damaged. It is a shepherd, but both of them are seeking each other.
Yeah.
For their final confrontation.
Because the problem is when a shepherd becomes a shepherd, it kind of goes insane.
Yes and no.
I would, without getting into part 2, I would say yes, considering our shepherd in part 2.
Yeah, but
he's nuts.
Most of the time, it's because they still have connections.
Well, they're locked on. Well, I say they're nuts because they're locked into that one last bit of emotion, and it's on repeat in their brain, and it makes that. I say it makes them crazy because it's that same thing, that one last thing repeating over and over again that they can't let go of. It's a spirit anchored to the earth, unable to pass on because of that one regret or that one thing. Yeah. That's why I'm saying they go nuts. That's my.
I guess you're technically right, because Shin is seeking his brother to finally put him to rest. Shin's brother is seeking Shin to join the Legion because he wants to basically apologize, because he's felt sad for what happened. He's felt guilty. He hated how everything ended, and it hurts, man.
Yeah.
Ooh,
especially
watching essentially a mindless robot that has only job is to essentially lead these units to destroy everything, care about his brother so much that he's willing to kill his brother to join him again so he can apologize.
Yeah.
That
And
breaks your heart.
those final few episodes of part 1 where you suddenly realize that when you see the digitized version of his brother, it's like, oh damn. He's like, shit. It's like, and it's confrontation building, and it's
That is
fantastic.
definitely a fate worse than death.
Well, because you died, you're a ghost, but like I said, you have that one single strong emotion, whether it be regret or obsession. I think talking about the shepherd from season 2 without spoiling thing, that was obsession.
Yes.
So it drove him nuts. Although he has that one moment
intense.
at the end, where he has that last little shred of humanity. Again, not spoiling, but it's fantastic, and it's compelling.
Yeah, here's a good version of it.
Okay,
we can also show off that the shepherds, they have a upgraded version,
as you would think. Their command units are better than the drones.
Yes,
that's a good lineup. Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
So here's your normal drones, the scout type, your Gra Wolf, which is your dragon type, which is kind of like a missile launcher, the Louvre, which is the tank type, and then here's the heavy tank type, which is also what Shin's brother is.
Yeah.
And they have a unique ability that comes out of nowhere. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
They have liquid metal arms.
Yep.
So they are geared to, they can control all these guys with hive minds. There's a moment where Shin's brother destroys a scout type because he wants a one-on-one with Shin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's intense fight.
That's why I appreciate this show, because it gives me a lot of stuff I want. I'm getting good characters. I'm getting really good action. The action animation of the mech on mech battle, top notch. You're getting every movement, every angle.
Yeah.
You're juking and jutting. You're not getting stills. You're not getting still action. Everything is in full motion, beautifully rendered, beautifully articulated. I'm in love with it. I love the action. And you begin to appreciate these spider mechs. That's like, damn, these things really are mobile in the hands of a master. But you get that. You get good action. You get good character. But then I get what I always want. I want my good one-on-one fight. I want my hero fight. And the end of season 1, part 1, you definitely get your hero fight. Shin versus his brother. It is knockdown. It is drag out. But before we get to that, I think it would be good to let's talk about the two different social situations of Spearhead and Lena. Her social, what it looks like there, because we need to compare and contrast so that we can understand. We're not going to talk about the individual members of Spearhead, especially the surviving ones, because we can talk about that when we come back to this for a part 2 discussion at a later date, because they have more characters. Go ahead, Anime Man.
I just said okay.
Oh, I thought you were trying to jump in there. All right, but so let's talk about Spearhead first. The Spearhead group living in their barracks and what it's like. Yeah, like we said, these are a bunch of preteen and mid-teen kids.
Yeah.
Put in a situation they have next to zero supervision. They have a supply officer who kind of looks out for them, but not really. He's there, but he's not there. He's not looking out for them all day. He's kind of sort of there.
Is.
He's there, but yeah, you know what I'm saying though. He's not. Yeah. He's not their house mother. Yeah, he's not.
He's not their house mother, but he's kind of like their house father, and he does care about them.
Yeah, but he's not living in the same building. He's not looking after them. He's not constantly watching over them, and so these kids are left to their own. They have their own habits, they have their own things. They have a cat that has no name because they all just call it by different names. It's kind of the running gag, which has a sentimental thing at the end of the season.
And then they have Fido.
And Fido, you knew where I was going.
Fido.
Fido, I love Fido. Fido is awesome.
Pour one out for Fido.
Fido is great. Fido is basically a mechanical mule of sorts that Shin has basically befriends, and it's an AI that has developed its own unique personality, kind of like an R2-D2 type personality. It's benevolent. It wants to take care of everybody, and they call it Fido because no matter what, Fido always comes back unscathed from the battlefield. He picks things
Mhm.
up, brings it back. He makes it out of there all the time. So Fido is awesome. I love Fido. Let me get a good picture of Fido up here because Fido, it's a great design too.
What again? This is why anime is so amazing. Similar to how a lot of us liked R2D2, Fido has no lines,
Yeah, beep 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 bop boop, beep bop
and you
boop.
care about him.
Yeah,
You care about him more than anything from She-Hulk or
Oh,
Rings of
yeah.
Power.
Totally.
You care about a character that has 0 lines.
Sometimes the best way to get to really care about a character is for that character to not say anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. So Fido is awesome, and he's got such a unique design, and the way you design is so unique, you still feel like he is the personification of a dog.
Yeah.
And he does cool little things. He'll do dog type stuff, and it's fantastic. Fido is great, and he's their mascot.
Which this you were hinting at it, but like converse to the Sog Magnolia, which we will get to.
Mhm.
The 86 live in basically terror. You are going to die. But they make the best of it.
They live life to the max in the moment. They embrace every moment, and except for Shin, who is the walking ghost.
Well, Shin does in his own way, and everybody knows that he's enjoying himself, but he's just shut off.
Yeah, you're right. But the other ones they run the gamut of emotions and personalities and all this type of stuff. I mean, there's the one kid. Let me see. I can probably get his name. Let me get his name.
Episode 3 is just.
I think it's Raiden. No, not Raiden. No. Theo. It's Theo. Theo is the artist.
Yes.
He comes up with the term pigs.
Well, I think that was already the term.
Yeah, but he's the one we first hear it from. That's why I associate with him, because he draws every time there's a new commander, he sketches out a pig caricature and puts it up so that whenever they're talking to them, they could say, "Yep, there's the pig." Mm-hmm. And they even call Lena pig because when Lena gets introduced to them, at first they think she's going to be no better than the rest of them, and it's such an interesting relationship with Lena and Spearhead. So, like you said, I want to jump to Lena, but let's finish with Spearhead. They are all they live life to the max. They're being kids, yet they're also behaving like adults, like soldiers on the battlefield. So it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
I go back to that episode 3, and it just shows you who they are. That fun little moment where you get the 3 boys going to watch the girls just do laundry and play in the river.
Peeping. Trying to peep.
Yes.
Peeping.
It tells you so much about them in such a short time.
Yeah, well, that's a standard anime trope. You are not a man if you're not peeping on the girls, but again, it shows you that they're still behaving normally, but they're all connected. They all understand they've all they've got. Mm-hmm. The squadron, they've all they've got. They got to lean on each other, and when bad things happen, they have to support each other, as opposed to the Alba, Lena's life. All right, so Lena's life. For someone like her who has morals, who mm-hmm. has a sense of duty and has not abandoned herself to the elitism of her people, it eats away at her. And like we said before, you see the other elites, they sit around drinking, whoring, being assholes. Or Henrietta, who, as we described, you know her backstory, she's fighting her own internal war, but she shuts a part of herself off and behaves badly sometimes, trying to offset her own emotional trauma over that, or guilt. Yeah. Guilt is better. Guilt. Yeah. Her own guilt. Yeah. You were going to say something?
Well, Henrietta isn't, she's trying to find suitors, but she doesn't know how, and she's sad, and she's constantly moving on. But what it also shows is, like we said, you have these people that live in basically abject poverty, waiting to die, versus these people who think they are on the top of the world, the best heights out there. These are the richest of people. They get everything they want.
except fresh eggs.
Except fresh eggs.
Yeah.
Or fresh cream, but
Yeah.
but you see how they interact with each other, and they, other than like Lena,
Hold on a minute.
It's superficial. I'll just
other than Lena, a lot of it's just superficial. Just they really don't care, and they actually kind of hate each other. They're at each other's throats a lot. For the side that it also shows you like, hey, you can have nothing and be happy, and you can have everything and be miserable.
That's a standard theme. That's a classic theme. That
And it's a beautiful theme.
What you love things that you can find love and happiness in the smallest things if you're content with yourself. But if you're living a shallow existence, you can drink all you want, you can whore all you want, you can party all you want, but you're filling an empty void there's never going to be filled, and that's what the Alba are basically doing.
I would actually put it like this: you can have all the wealth, the power, all the luxuries in the world, but if you're not happy with yourself, then you got problems.
Well, yeah, that's essentially, we're saying the same thing. And you got these, except for certain members of the Alba military, the San Mongolian military, who see the problems, like Lena's uncle, her commanding officer. He sees what's going on, but he's not.
That goes into part 2 a lot.
Yeah, we have to stop at a certain point there. But the whole social situation there is that, as we said, they think the war is going to end in 2 years. They think the batteries are going to run out, and then they're going to be, and then they won't have to. They won't have to worry about anything. Mm-hmm. And you have Lena, who has nothing outside of her job.
Well, technically, she has everything. She comes from one of the richest families.
You know what I mean? She has zero. Her, because of her beliefs, she's been socially isolated. She's mocked. She's ridiculed by other commanders, other officers. Henrietta is her best friend, but their relationship is strained sometimes because Lena wants Henrietta to do more, but Henrietta's guilt has her locked in place, unable to do more. And Lena's life is she's only happy when she's talking to the 86 or to Spearhead. And that's where I want to go with this, the fact that Spearhead teach her a valuable lesson, that her belief system of equality and all this stuff, that she's merely spouting platitudes, and she doesn't realize it until they point it out to her, is that you're saying all these nice things, but you're not here with us. You're not here in the muck. You're here in the grime. You're still up there. And it's really powerful. And especially it comes from Theo. Theo is the vehicle through which we get the feeling of how the Spearhead are not completely shut off from wanting to like somebody like Lena, but they've been burned so many times by bad commanders who throw their lives away on the battlefield that they don't want to really connect with Lena. But between her naivete, I think she's naive about her ideals until she's forced to really put them into practice and do whatever she can do. Again, we have to get into part 2 for more of that. But it's just, to me, that it was a fascinating theme of naive ideals becoming a little more realistic, but not losing the optimism part of it. Am I fair saying that?
Yeah,
fair enough.
I think you are. Because Lena's story in particular is very complex and unique, and it is the ideas versus realities and all of that.
Perfect way to say that. She had an idea. She thinks her ideals were easily accessible to reality, but they were just ideals that she was preaching and saying she was practicing, but she really wasn't. Then that leads to the deeper connection she forms with Spearhead by creating little paper figures of them, little paper cutouts, and to try and put to the names and descriptions. And even though they still have the caricature of her as a pig, it becomes less of an attack, and something more loving, because they realize that she is doing her best from her spot, her where she is, and she's not bad. And even though she was naive, that naivete, as she hears them die over and over again, it chips away and she understands what's really going on there. And then especially when she learns the truth that that the Legion's not going to shut down. They're going to keep going.
And then when she learns the truth about the situation of Spearhead.
Yeah. And she desperately wants to save them, but she can't. And she knows she part of her knows she can't, but she can't quite connect to that. So we get to the final part where she sends them on what's their final mission.
She doesn't send them off. They go off, but it is their final mission.
Yeah, what I'm saying. It's supposed to be the final mission, and before waiting for orders, the remaining 5 members of a Spearhead, they bolt. They F off before they can get sent off to die because, again, they're driven by Shin's directive, sort of. Oh, go ahead.
Well, yeah, you're right, but they're going off to that final mission.
Well, yeah, well, no, they're doing it on purpose, but they've cut themselves off completely from the military,
from everybody.
They remove their communicator. They pull in. They're shut. No more psychic link. Lena cannot contact them. It's just them on the field, and so they're going off because Shin wants to confront his brother because he hears his brother out there. They're trying to break through a particular Legion offensive that's coming, and they figure if they can at least stop Shin's brother's Shepherd unit, it might forestall the invasion of Magnolia. That's what's going on, right? If I remember correctly.
I think the idea was because I think only Shin's the one that cut off his unit. Everybody else had it because Lena comes in. But I think the idea is Shin's going to take them on alone. Everybody else escape.
Well, at the end. Well, that's at the last part. What I'm talking about is when they all decide to leave. They cut her off because they throw away, and they go on their basically 2-episode holiday where they have.
Oh no, that's after that. That's after.
See, I was skipping ahead. I was skipping ahead to where they cut off.
So yes,
all right, fill in what I skipped over unintentionally. Go ahead. Yeah.
So the final fight happens. Shin's going on to battle his brother. Shin
no, not that part. Not that. But I mean, after they do their final mission, they pull the plug and then they go on holiday.
They don't pull the plug; they go out of range.
Yeah, you know what? Same thing as far as I'm concerned.
They go out of range.
That was a kind of a heart-wrenching moment.
That was a heart-wrenching moment because she has to say goodbye and never gets to see them, and thinks she'll never see them again.
Oh, and before we continue, Ragmar, I'm here.
But pretty much, they go off. They do their holiday, and on episode 1 is more of them just trying to survive and doing their thing. Not a whole lot happens, but they get to see. It's unique in itself because they are possibly the 2 most wholesome episodes.
Because they're just living a little bit of a life. It's suddenly they're free. They're heading off to fight, and by this point, they're down to 1 mech and Fido, and pulling a cart. And but they're just enjoying freedom to sleep in someplace fresh, enjoy themselves, not wear their uniforms, have a little fun, think about where they want to go, who they want to be, leading up to, of course, like we said, Shin's got a plan. He's not really living though, because he is the ghost who's walking. He is constantly haunted by. He's carrying with him the box full of insignias. He's carrying every single name, every single memory, and of course his brother. And before we get to that part, after they leave, Lena goes to the 86 barracks for the first time, but they're gone, and she meets the guy who is their what's the term?
I call it the house dad, but pretty much he's
the outfitter. Guy. Yeah, the outfitter, the maintenance. Their item guy.
Yeah. If I might put something in, I found his little bit of backstory interesting. That he was actually an Alba with all the luxuries in the world, but he fell in love with an 86, and ended up dyeing his hair and going off with his wife and child. Wow. Just wow. That kind of sacrifice, it takes guts.
Yeah.
It takes true love. And to understand that 86 are people.
Yep.
So
she goes there and she finds a note from the Spearhead left behind saying, we're going ahead. We hope to meet you someday. Take care of the cat. Name it whatever you want. We never had a name for it. And at that point, I think it's at the end of that point where she dyes a strand of her hair red, or that's the end of the season, right? Or is that season 2?
I
Or
don't
part
think
2?
she does. I think it's just. in
Well,
part
okay,
two
here's
that
what I'm.
she
Oh no, you know why I said? Because it's constantly reflected in the opening theme.
does. Mhm.
Yet she doesn't do it until part 2, where she actually had. You see the
Well-
red in the opening thing all the time on here. Yeah, that's why I'm confused there.
We already that's not a big spoiler. I will say that's the stupidest thing. She goes full millennial and says, "I experienced something serious. I'm dyeing my hair."
See, I'm okay with different hair streaks, but
I'm
she
okay
did
with
not.
it.
But
It
she
just
did. But the way you're
feels-
right. You know, I didn't think about it like that, but it is kind of silly. It's like it's her act of rebellion. It's an open act of rebellion. It's
Mhm.
just like,
But it does work in the
remember, she
context of
is
the world.
17 at this point. She is only 17. She's not really an adult.
Yeah.
But
But-
all right, so now back to Spearhead or former Spearhead, Shin and crew, because they're not Spearhead anymore. They're Shin and crew, and they're out there and they have their holiday. But then, of course, the hardcore thing happens, and Shin basically tries to ditch him to go
Yep.
fight by himself. And then it builds on the whole thing of Shin always tries to do everything by himself. It's part of the whole the character build of his type of character. Takes all the responsibility, doesn't share it, closes off his emotions. But again, we can't really talk about Shin's emotions because that's part 2, where we really get into that. So
he goes off to try to. What we are told in this part is he goes off to try to redirect a massive horde of Legion.
shepherded by his brother.
Not this time, because they've already killed the shepherd.
I thought the fight with his brother was in the back half.
No.
Oh, that was the first part.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it
that's
goes
why
fight with
I'm
the brother.
confused. I see. I just rewatched part of season 2, so I'm conflating two different parts.
It gets a little weird,
Yeah.
but it goes fight with a brother, go off.
You're right.
And then-
Yeah. So sorry. So I skipped ahead. I apologize, everybody. Dermy tried to keep me in line, and I skipped over unintentionally. I see what you're doing now because my wires got crossed with part 2.
I will say that I will say this. I'm looking forward to part 2 because who in the heck was that shepherd that the main character was fighting against
Wait,
in the final episode of season 1?
Let me bring up the episode list. Hang on 1 second here.
I need to
Bring up.
give me a moment. Give me a moment because who was that shepherd? I think they hint. Did they actually show the shepherd for part 2? Or?
Not yet. No, you only hint at that. No, so back in it was episode looks like episode 9.
So it goes 9 is goodbye, where they had their final fight, and then the 2 most wholesome episodes, which I'm still shocked by.
Thank you, and here we go. So and goodbye is where Shin has the fight with his brother Shore, and they have the knockdown drag out, and it's a fantastic fight.
And that's where Lena breaks the rules and uses the mortars to
she gets
save
artillery
everybody.
support. But then they
That
bail.
was the moment where she brought in the artillery. That's when I went, yes, about damn time, Lena.
And what makes and here I see and what's well, it's not so much about damn time is that she just basically said F this, I'm gonna break rules. And what's
Hold on just a minute, I'll be right back.
What's so interesting about episode 10, thank you, is that it's through Fido's perspective. I forgot about that part.
Towards the end. Towards the very end of episode 10,
because Fido gets damaged severely by that
of episode 11.
10 and 11. And everybody gets in. So what happens then? Yeah, Dermy was trying to keep me on the rails, and I went off the rails. So I apologize. Because
I was trying to figure out what was going on.
I had my wires crossed with season 2 and season 1 in terms of when the big fights happened. I got my wires crossed because I was just rewatching season 2 or part 2 a little while ago for reasons. And
because it's so damn good.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I managed to get to the part where Shin and company were having their butts handed to them by that large force of Legion. in episode
Yes.
11.
Yes, here we go. So that's where we are now. So what happens is, like Jeremy Tread said, Shin bails on everybody. He tries to get them to safety, but they run in there with nothing to try and help him, and you just see explosions everywhere, and they get overrun, and you're left with the images of that. Okay, everybody's dead.
Yeah, you're convinced everybody's dead.
Looks like everybody's dead, and you see a moment where Shin is drifting off, picked up. It looks like he's been decapitated as well, and now his brothers come to claim him finally, so they can move on. And it's a really dark ending because we've been through all this stuff, and everybody's dead that remained.
You know, it's funny you should say that. Throughout the whole of the series, I kept having this feeling. Why do I have this feeling this is not going to end well?
And that's why this is season 1, part 1, and there's more in part 2, but we can't go forward because Anime Man hasn't seen it, and we only said we're going to discuss that. But you understand what we talk about when this show. There are so many layers. The pain of war, the pain of PTSD. Shin is suffering multiple levels of PTSD unrelated to actual combat. Relationships, people who are wanting to find connections but can't because they can't comprehend situations, or they won't let themselves comprehend situations. You see the strains of an elitist society who treats people like trash because of it. And Dermy pointing out this is a fantastic
it's a fantastic version, mirror of our modern day, where our elites in Hollywood are trying to do a show like this, depicting systemic racism, let's just say it.
Yeah.
But fail every time.
Because they're locked into a narrow perspective on what they believe racism is, where here, racism is simply a different color hair or different color eyes, or where you were born in the economic system.
Where you were born, basically it's World War II people. The idea of a pure blood. Yeah.
And it's fascinating that it can be pulled off so simply without resorting to, and the word racism is never uttered once in this show.
No, it's not.
It's not uttered once. It's show, don't tell. You understand by the actions. You understand by the attitudes. And the 86, they never cry racism. They just say, screw these people. We don't really want to, we're going to make a choice in the end to not, or the spearhead exactly. We choose not to fight for them anymore. We're choosing to fight for ourselves. We're fighting for our own survival. We're fighting because we know it's right, even though it's a losing battle, because what else are we going to do? There's nowhere else to go, because the whole thing is that the Legion is going to run over the entire world. There's going to be no stopping them. And when you get to part 2, you understand the massive power that the Legion is able to command, and what our protagonists do. Go in there.
Things that we still haven't even seen.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's why. Here's the thing. Now, as we said, we're going to wind down here. We're over an hour, and that's generally what we go. We go
if
as
I
far
be
as
so bold as to say so, I'm actually looking forward to part 2.
Yeah.
So,
but
I believe season 2's been okayed.
It's been okayed, but what I was going to say, it's been postponed repeatedly. I've been waiting since spring for season 2. It was listed back in spring. And it still hasn't come around, and it's still not listed.
Because the manga actually, I think, got canceled.
But there's light novels.
Yeah. So I think they're just trying to figure out how to get a hold of
the manga here. I don't know. There's several listed right here. Here it is. The manga ended in August of last year. Only 2 volumes, though, so it wasn't very long. But the light novels are still going. They've been going since 2015. There's 11 volumes worth, so perhaps, again, we might be running into a problem of source material lacking thereof, which is why they maybe shut it off, letting Asato continue their work. I don't know if it's a dude or a chick. Letting get more stuff in there. So I'm with the end of part 2. There's still so much that can happen, especially considering encounters, characters, what's going on.
Anime Man. What I will say, it's not a spoiler. There is a very good emotional payoff.
Yeah. Payoff.
Intrigued here.
Payoffs.
You will like it. It's different than part one.
Oh, drastically different. That's why we had to separate these literally into their two different separate parts to talk about them, because it's two different stories. It's literally literally night and day.
It's chapter 2. That's really what it is. So
And
it's
it's
a
fascinating.
continuation.
Again, I have to stop myself. I'll spoil shit.
I want to talk more, but
yeah,
I can't.
we want to talk, but we can't. But that's why we divide it. We come back at a later date. We keep it going. I mean, we still have other shows we've started that we're going to come back to for season 2s, stuff like that. But yeah, so I highly recommend this show. I highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Once you get those initial episodes, once you get to the first gut punch and you start to relate to the characters, like all good anime, you're pulled in. You want to see what happens. You're rooting for these characters. That's how you know you're into it. You're rooting for them. And you want to see the victorious. When they are going through, as the season was building, and I'm watching, thinking, okay, how is this going to work out? Is Lena going to somehow rise in the ranks and be some sort of genius? She be able to lead spearhead to stop the Legion from what's going on? And at every turn, no, that's not what happens. Shit just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And that's something is good as far as I'm concerned when my predictions go the other way. When it's great. I like it when I can predict stuff and saw that coming. But when you can tell a good, compelling story and make me not unhappy that my predictions were wrong in the end, you win.
I like my stories where I can't predict what's happening. I don't want to predict because I want to know what happens next.
See, as a writer, I predict like 8 times out of 10, I'll predict where something is going because it's just I understand how proper storytelling works and I can see where it's going to go. And 8 times out of 10, I'm generally right. But there are those a couple of times where I'm going to miss it completely. And I'm happy. Like you, I'm happy when that happens because it means, wow, okay, that's a type of storytelling or a type of pattern for a story theme that I didn't think about, and they went that way, and I'm okay with that because I like being surprised. I like being entertained. It pulled me in. I want to know what's going to happen.
When done well, nothing better than a good plot twist.
Yeah. So,
for a final thing on this, for a show that's kind of nihilistic, it has that beat of hope.
Yeah, which comes through in part 2, season 1, part 2.
So I think it is it's a wonderful anime.
Give it a try.
Watch it.
Season 1 is part 1's only 11 episodes. Don't watch 11.5. You're just going to hurt your brain. Another stupid recap crap. But I recommend it. Good action, good animation, good characters, good voice work on both sides, both Japanese and dub. Good music. The music is spot on. It hits all the marks. And it's an untraditional mecha anime, too, because of the mecha involved. The spider-like mecha. It's not your bipedal stuff where you got your hero with the weapons and the swords. These are weird-ass mecha that at first you're realizing, how I'm not into this. But then once you see Shin go into basically, as I said, Gundam pilot mode, where he's unstoppable, you're like, damn, all right, I'm okay with this. Look at the crazy shit he's doing here. I'm all right with this. So, Anime Man, how do you feel so far? You said you're excited for season 1, part 2.
Yes. It definitely starts out a little bit slow, but then after the first gut punch, that's just when it, bam, just cranks it up into high gear. So I definitely recommend this and give it a solid 8.
Yeah, I think you might bump it up to a 9 in part 2. You might bump it up to 9. Nothing is a 10 as far as I'm concerned. Hard to get a 10, but you're going to at least get it. I think you'll bump it up 1 point when you watch part 2. And we'll come back at some point, I'm sure, to do part 2 because that's how we do. We're not going to come back next month and do it because we want to keep interesting. We want to keep different stuff going around here. And that just leaves us something to look forward to talk to as well. It might be fun to come back to do part 2 when season 2 gets completely greenlit and we know it's coming. Get us ready for it. I mean, that's what maybe in a couple months, maybe towards the end of the season, I might want to do Bungo Stray Dogs because season 4, 3 is coming out.
I loved it.
Up until a point?
Yeah, up until they kicked Vic.
Oh, see, I was watching the sub, so it doesn't matter to me. I was watching subs. So that doesn't affect
Mhm.
me. Doesn't affect me. I
It
was watching
hurt.
subs.
It came out and I thought he was gonna be good, and then he's not even a super big character, but
Mhm.
just the fact that he got kicked
Yeah.
just drew me
See
away.
that's why I tend to not want to know who's involved at all, because then I don't get attached or this and that. And that's generally a lot of the stuff, especially when it's new stuff, I'm gonna watch it in subs anyway first.
The
And
Bungo Stray Dogs is so
it's
freaking
good.
good.
It's good.
So
So
good.
I'm excited about I think it's season 3. Or is it
No,
season
3's already done. It's 4.
So it's 4. It's 4, yeah. So it's 1, 2, Dead Apple, 3, and then 4. I believe that's how it goes.
'Cause it's so weird how to watch it, but it's so good.
I know, yeah. You have to line up. Yeah, I almost misaligned it with Dead Apple in season 3, but I corrected myself at the last second before I went too far. But yeah, you can see we're already excited about other things. That's how you know we're done with the show, because we're already talking about stuff later on. But
And that's how you know Rings of Power freaking sucked, because we talked about other stuff all through that stream.
yeah, but now we've reached the logical conclusion of talking about 86, but now we're
we
thinking
can't
about
talk anymore.
yeah, without spoilers for part 2. But also we're excited. I mean, here we are. We just started the fall season for anime. Next month, I believe Dermy and I believe we can both give our recommendations. About halfway through. I'll be ready to give my recommendations for the season next month.
I have 2 that I can recommend.
Yeah, I haven't watched anything yet, so I don't have any recommendations yet. But I'll have by next time I'll have that. I mean, anime can't do it because they're all subtitled and he can't read them fast enough right now.
Visual impairment. Gotta love it.
So he can't do that. But now that Dermy's here and Jose will be here, we can get some we can start doing every couple months, like beginning of every season, we can start giving you guys recommendations for the season. So expect in November you'll get Dermy and mine, and maybe Jose. I don't know how up to date on stuff he is right now, but we'll be able to give you our recommendations for the fall season up to a point. I'll be probably about halfway through watching a bunch of stuff, basically 4 to 6 episode recommendation. So I'll look forward to that, because I've got at least 10 or 11 shows I'm going to watch right now at the start of the season before I probably pare it down to 6 or 7. Because that's generally what happens. I start off with between 10 and 15, and it drops down to about between 6 and 9, if I'm lucky.
My recommendations are usually the bigger shows, because there is one right now that if you go to my YouTube channel, you see me talk about a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So why don't we do that? Let's go around the horn. Let's pimp our crap. Dermy, what's going on your channel?
So right now, I've started doing 3 videos a day. Got some videos lined up to
That's
make
the way you do it, man. Just
make
get
after this, and
make use of your 3 notifications.
after this, I'm gonna make 3 more videos, put them out for tomorrow. Friday, because I was sick Monday, not gonna do a live stream tonight, but because I'm here and I like being here. But Friday we'll be back with Silver and I believe Friendly, and we're gonna be playing some more Gundam Evolution. Saturday I got the Legion stream, I believe. Don't know what else I'm gonna do Saturday night.
We're not doing the Rings of Power versus Wheel of Time thing on Saturday. I'm putting that to Sunday as part of Roundtable.
Okay.
I was going to talk about that, but since we're saying that, yeah. So guys, that's not happening because schedules did not align. I can't get any of the White Cloaks till Sunday, which is why basically I can't get any of them till Sunday. So.
Well, that got announced. I didn't mean to do that, but that got announced.
That's fine. I was going to announce it anyway. It's fine. I was going to do my turn, so don't worry.
And then, then I'm back finally to normal, because being sick on Monday and then having work stuff this morning, my schedule's been all jacked. So
I understand that, yeah. But yeah, dude, you're doing the right thing. 3 videos a day. Just make use of your notifications and space them out and let the algorithm get used to you. That's how you do it. That's how we all did it. And eventually one day you'll realize, oh, there's a spike.
Oh,
there's a spike.
One other thing, I completely forgot to mention this. Saturday will be episode 8 of G Gundam and that review. And even though the algorithm hates it, it's getting it.
If you're having fun with it, though, that's what's mattering.
I love it.
And even though it hates it, it's still feeding the algorithm, so it's good. Anime Man, what's going on with you, dude?
All righty. I've got quite a bit to announce. First of all, I'm pleased to announce that in November, the 11th through the 13th, I will be attending the anime convention, KomoriCon. And the character I will be going as is the one who I've got in my avatar picture, Tatsuo Kusakabe from My Neighbor Totoro.
Is that the
Oh.
little girl?
Nope, the father. Very funny, Dermy Wormy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anyhow, in other news, the Willowsbrook Chronicles continues with my 2 story arcs, the arcs Dungeon Delving and the Spirit's Eve Adventures. Both they'll be available as part of the local patron status, which is available on Minds and Subscribestar for the price of either 3 Minds tokens or $3.75. Also, coming up at the end of the month will be the next chapter of my sci-fi serial, Clanless. As Vistoth and Starburst Company head to Horton Pass to create a choke point, they're about to run headlong into Vistoth's old mentor, Gorvin of Clan Valnor, along with an old enemy of Vistoth's who wants bloody revenge on him. Lots of fun. The Clanless serial is available as part of the Noble Patrons tier, which comes at a cost of either 9 Minds tokens or $11.25 on Minds and Subscribestar. Also, I've got a freebie story that's going to be coming out at the end of the month called A Spooktacular Evening, based on the universe of Clanless, plus a little extra surprise for Noble's clan members. What it is, I'm not going to tell you. You'll just have to subscribe to the Noble Patrons tier on Minds or Subscribestar to find out.
That it?
That's all, folks.
You ended kind of abruptly there. I wasn't sure. Yeah, so links are in the description below. As we just announced inadvertently, I was going to say it anyway. Yeah, if you guys have been paying attention to other live streams, I was trying to do a special edition of This Is Mortal Country on Saturday night, but it was supposed to be which has done more damage to its brand at this point, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, or Wheel of Time on Amazon, both these Amazon properties. But I want to bring in the White Cloaks, but Dane and a couple of them are not available till Sunday. So this Sunday, half the roundtable session is going to be devoted to that debate. We're going to do some regular stuff, but then we're going to dive right in and do that. So we're going to bring on a bunch of people, have a good time with that. Other than that, rest of the week, it is now Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday because that's how the week goes. We will have tomorrow night some Star Wars: The Old Republic along with other regular videos through all the way to Friday. That means on Saturday, I'll probably do a gaming stream on Saturday night instead of a panel stream, but that means familiar faces may pop in on Saturday night to join me. Tonight, I may game after this, take a short break, get it up, because I wanted to do it throughout the day, but never have a chance. I want to do some more Medieval Dynasty. We'll see. We'll see how I feel about an hour. Either way. At the same time, we'll be back right here on November 17th for another episode of Anime Odyssey. It'll be my choice. Dermy will provide me with a tag once we're off air. And Jose, the NYC Geek, will be joining us full time. I'm looking forward to whatever I may end up choosing because it's me, and I know I'll like it at least. What do you got?
November 16th.
I'm looking forward to
16th. Sorry, right, 16th. Sorry, November 16th. I kept looking at 17th because it was right above Thanksgiving on my calendar. I don't know why. I'm stupid tonight. Okay.
I'm looking forward to meeting the NYC Geek.
Yeah, Jose's a cool dude.
Oh,
Jose's a cool dude.
That was a fun stream.
Jose's a cool dude.
I also want to say to everybody out there in the chat, take care of yourselves. Have a happy and safe Halloween.
Yeah, be safe out there, guys. Things are crazy. Don't do something that might get you in trouble. All right, guys. I want to thank Dermy. I want to thank Anime Man. Chat, we love you. We thank you for being here. If you're watching the replay, hit that like button. Send out a comment if you think you have something fun to say. And we will see you next time for Anime Odyssey, where the adventure never ends. Good night, everybody.